Hey y'all, it's Kobe R. Rice, and I'm back again after nearly 2 weeks of being away from the video blog or the vlog, whatever you would call it. Um, so it's been an interesting past couple of weeks because, as I told you guys in the last update, I was gonna take that entire week off, which was my birthday week, and also the July 4th weekend, which was delightful. I was a little ill, but at the same time, the time that I wasn't ill, it was really great. I got to sleep a lot, relax a lot, work a lot. I mean, not really work as much as I usually do, but I definitely got some decent writing done, although not nearly as much as I would like. But the biggest thing that I accomplished during that week was basically reflection and thinking back on two major things. One being my personal new year, and the year that I had had from the end of June 2016 to the end of June 2017. And the other reflection that I was having was on the mid-year reflection for my business, which follows a typical fiscal year of January 1st all the way to December 31st. So I really love this time of year because it's a really great place to evaluate my business and to figure out where I want to go creatively and business-wise for the rest of the year, for the remaining 2 quarters. And it also is the closing of my personal year, but also the very beginning of my new personal year. And it allows me to reflect on basically how I've grown and changed and evolved over the past year, and allows me to really understand where I am and sort of where I want to be and what my goals are for this coming year. So just to kind of like keep things simple, I'm going to start just giving you guys a roundup today of both my fiscal year at the halfway point from January 1st, 2017 to basically to June 30th, 2017. And then I'll tell you guys a more general overview of like my personal roundup, and I will also go into the goals for my business and my creativity and the goals for my personal stuff. Not like getting too crazy and too personal, but just like giving you guys some general ideas as to how I evaluate both of these sides of my life, because they're both interconnected and essentially interdependent. So I think it's important. I think it's also important in general as creatives to really understand how we are growing individually and how that feeds into and has basically provides conversation with your business goals and your creative goals, because again, these two things are always in dialogue. Anyway, so let me just give you guys an overview of the past 2 quarters that I've had for my business, which has been really exciting. I haven't achieved all the goals that I want to achieve, but I'm certainly on my way there. And as I start to tweak my daily habits and sort of reevaluate what I want to happen this year, I feel like the end of this year is going to really be fantastic. I mean, this year has already been fantastic, both creatively and business-wise, but looking towards the end of the year, I'm super excited. So let me just give you like a brief overview of what I've actually achieved for Q2. And the biggest thing is, and I'm also like looking at my notes here, so if I get a little bit zombie-ish in the screen, just like cut me some slack. I've added 11,000 more off-worlders to my list, which is incredible. Again, I think I've said this before. I'll keep saying this, that whatever you focus on will grow. And for the first half of the year, even though I have been working on my creative projects, I've been focusing very, very closely and specifically on growing my reader list and my subscriber list. And that has certainly, definitely paid off. So I have some goals around that, and I'll get into those in just a second. Finished 6 masterclasses, did a couple of reviews on my blog, 1 book review, 1 play. I finished 8 signature courses, which is really, considering how much graduate school was like in my ass this past semester, like finishing those 8 courses, those creative courses on the side that have nothing to do with graduate school, to me was a major accomplishment, and it really helps to continue elevating my creative skill set. So I'm excited about that. Completed 1 major giveaway. I'll get into that in just a second, because that was essentially the way in which I was able to add new readers to my list who are pretty engaged. So I'm really excited about that. Stayed up with my creative achievements vlog. I'm still definitely working on 2 major projects, which include my Sandman horror film. So I'm working on finishing up the script right now. It's going to take about a month or 2. I'm not going to lie. I'm still really trying to focus on the story, the imagery, the symbolism, like the character development, in addition to like making it really scary and really terrifying. So, you know, I want to make sure that the script is the best it can be, and that's going to be my focus amongst other creative projects this summer. And then during this semester coming up, I have plans to move Sandman forward, and I'll get into those when I get into my goals. The second big project that I've been working on, obviously, is finishing up Hollow Point and preparing my book launch. And I'm sort of, I would say, at the 45% mark when talking about my book launch preparation. I've got my my reader list together, my wonderful, you know, advanced reader copy listers who are just excited to get the book in their hands and to do an advanced review. Thank you guys so much for joining. And so that group is definitely together, and it's growing. And I'm also finalizing the book launch prizes, because that's going to be a whole part of the book launch process. Those ARC readers will be eligible for winning prizes and stuff like that. And so in terms of designing my book launch, I'm about 45, nearly halfway through doing that. Hollow Point is coming along pretty well, although I'm getting kind of like, can I just finish it already? You know, I'm at the point at which like I've spent so much time with this project that I'm just like ready for it to be done. But, you know, I'm just going to like see it through, obviously. And let's see. And I also worked on a lot of world building, plotting, and character development for my Books of Ezekiel series, the Hitmen of Happily Ever After, and the ASYLUM trilogy, which is exciting. All of those projects are really exciting to me. And connecting with new authors is something I did. I really stayed up on top of my blog and vlog as much as possible, as much as humanly possible, because I'm only human. And then I was able to bang out about 31,306 words in their entirety for this whole quarter, which is good. But for me personally, I would have liked that to be closer to like 60,000, 75,000. So I'm still only 50% to where I want to be in terms of my output. And I'm still working on that, essentially. So my basic rule when it comes to writing and creativity is to try to at least get 500 words a day done. Once I hit that 500 word mark, I do aim higher, and I aim for that 2,000 mark. 2,000 is like my ideal place. But if I get 500 words written, I'm feeling okay generally, because basically writing 500 words a day the entire year, let's say give or take, I'm going to take off 30 days for sickness and vacation and holiday and emergency stuff, right? So let's say that 335 times 500. If you write 500 words a day for 335 days, all right, and that includes time to be sick, time to take days off, time to do Thanksgiving and Christmas, you would have written 167,500 words in total, which, you know, if you're trying to knock out a few novels a year, actually works really well. This is at least 2 novels and like a novella, if not 3 novels if you're writing like 50,000 word novels. So, you know, that's my basic minimum sort of goal for myself as a writer every day is 500. I feel really good when I get the 2,000, when I hit the 2,000 mark, and I feel pretty good when I hit the 1,000 word mark. Because again, 1,000 words a day, if we just double this little count right here, means that we are producing 335,000 words a year. And if you were to write like 60,000 word novels, that's like 5.5 novels a year, or 5 novels and a novella, you know, and I'm really happy with that. So 500 is great, 1,000 is wonderful, 2,000 is amazing. So that's sort of where my ballpark is, and I'm still trying my best to get to that that point, that minimum point. So anyway, that was like a longer explanation than I wanted it to be. And I'm a little tired because I've been kind of like busting my ass all day, like writing, outlining, doing my script, embroiling myself in creative uni. I met with a collaborative partner today, which was great. So I'm on my hustle and flow, but it takes its toll, right? Anyway, so I feel really, really good as to like where my achievements are for my fiscal year. I feel very empowered in terms of like finishing out this year with a bang. And so because I feel really great where I am, I'm just gonna give you guys some insight on where I'm going with my goals for both Q3, which is July 1st to September 30th, and Q4, which is October 1st to December 31st, okay? So these are my goals for Q3. Stay on top of my daily writing habit, minimum 500 words a day, maximum, well, there's no maximum, but like goal is 2,000 words a day. Finish and publish Hollow Point. That's really like the only thing I'm trying to do in terms of like getting the next novel out is to like finish and publish and market that book. Actually, that's not true because I mean, that's the ultimate priority, but I also have on my list to finish Rose and John Doe's, which is the first book of Hitmen of Happily Ever After. To finish also Loosey Goosey, which is the prequel novella to that Hitmen of Happily Ever After series. And that's just to finish it. Finish the shittiest drafts I can ever churn out in my entire life. I don't have to like it. I don't have to like love it. I don't even have to respect the draft, but just to have something finished that's at minimum 60,000 words for the full novel and at minimum 30,000 words for the novella, I'm good. So that's my goal. Finish those 2 manuscripts and actually polish and publish Hollow Point. I'm also going to finish and polish the Sandman script. I'm also going to finish the Sandman script breakdown and continue pre-production. I am also going to continue to grow. I sort of forgot to mention this in my creative achievements, but in the course of putting together these giveaways that I've been doing, connecting with authors and recruiting readers, as you guys probably know, I started a sort of side business called New Adult Noir, and it's mostly actually like a book blog, and I don't charge for most of the services that I provide. But the major mass giveaways that I do put together do have a small business component to that, and that small component is that there's an opt-in fee because I'm offering prices like Kindle Fires, reader tablets, and stuff like that, and I'm just offering I'm asking for a small opt-in fee so that we're all equally chipping in together to provide the prize and the shipping and stuff like that. So New Adult Noir, for the most part, I will there at that blog advertise basically free books that are perma-free, temporarily free, that are in sci-fi, fantasy, horror, SFFH, romance, dark erotica, things like that. So long as they're like sort of dark and gritty and free, I'll be advertising those things to my readers. So if you're an author watching this and you're interested in advertising your free book to right now over 13,000 readers, submit your free book. I'll put the link below. I also am going to start doing a series promotion for the blog where I'm promoting authors' series. So if you have a standalone free book, that is great. But if you have an ongoing series that you want to market as well for free, and the series itself doesn't have to be free, but I'm not charging to promote your book to my list. If you're interested in promoting your series to my list of readers, then you can also sign up below for the series promotions. And then, of course, we have the mega mass giveaways, which do cost money. They're the only thing on the blog that actually cost, but everything else I provide authors and readers is absolutely 100% free. So I will continue as a goal for Q3 to grow and develop New Adult Noir because, again, that's a genre that I really, really love. That's a genre that I write in, and that's sort of where I live, and I just want to grow a larger reader community and a larger author community around that. So that's one major goal for Q3 in addition to the other ones. I'm also going to be, I'm going to keep up with this weekly creative achievement vlog, but I'm also turning it into a podcast called The Epic Fantastical Journey of a Black Female Sci-Fi Writer. That is coming by the end of the month. Obviously, I'm kind of like swamped with other stuff, but it's really just a matter of stripping all of my vlogs of the audio, uploading it to my server account, and then creating my podcast through iTunes, through Google Play, and all these other places. So stay tuned for that, but that will be launching this month in July, that new podcast. Let's see. I'm still trying to reevaluate and think about what I want to do with thebohemianbadass.com. I still am very committed to that part of my business. I just don't know if I have the bandwidth for it, and that kind of frightens me a little bit because it's such an amazing brand. And I know it's sort of egotistical to say that myself, but I really love the brand. I love and just like, not even just like what I'm trying to do with the brand, like in terms of teaching creative craft courses and creating a community and doing a podcast and writing books on the craft of writing and screenwriting and filmmaking. I love that part, but I just love the brand colors, like the style, the fonts, just like the setup. Like, I put so much work into developing a really sexy, kick-ass brand that's going to do amazing things for female creators. And I really feel like The Bohemian Badass is important as a business and important as an idea. And I want to keep that out there and just keep evolving that. I just don't know if I have the room for that, and that just makes me very sad. So I'm still trying to find ways to give some kind of time to that. If it's going to take 5 years to develop the actual brand itself, and I just have to work on 100 words a day or 3 minutes of podcasting a day or whatever, then that's what I'll do to get The Bohemian Badass up and running. It's not going to die. I'm just still trying to figure out how I can fit it into my life right now. So stay tuned for that. It's not shriveling on the vine, but the gardener is trying to figure out how to make room for that beautiful rose bush in my garden. I also want to learn as much as possible about filmmaking with a very particular emphasis on editing, visual effects, and special effects. I'm going to be graduating my program in 2 years, and literally this time in 2019, I want to be an expert in, as much as I can be in 2 years, in post-production, period. That not only includes VFX, SFX, and editing, but I also want to learn a lot about audio mixing, Foley design, and things like that. Maybe even a little bit of composing. I know I can't be all things. Maybe I can. I don't know. Who knows? But it's hard to be like the screenwriter, the pre-production manager / production designer, the director, and the editor with all the post-production trappings. But I do want to learn as much as humanly possible about all aspects of filmmaking. And this is not just because I want to learn and become a master of my craft, but it's also so that I can make myself more marketable and more useful to other people. So if I'm between projects, or, I just want to take a break from producing my own stuff and just kind of cleanse my palette and work on somebody else's film, I will have the tool set and the skill set to do so. And the great thing about this goal is that basically, if I want to learn how to become like a master editor or a master SFX designer or VFX designer, there are so many online courses on YouTube, on Google, on Udemy, on lynda.com, on all these places where I can learn this stuff, usually for free, which is amazing. So I'm also really trying to get into graphic design more, so including like Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, things like that. Basically becoming a master of the Adobe Creative Suite. That's what I want to do. I think it's an important skill set to have. I think it's a very marketable skill set to have. And I think it's not going to benefit only my own projects, but other projects as well. So that's definitely a goal. And in graduate school, I'm going to make it a goal for myself to try to take as many of those classes as electives, like grad level electives, as humanly possible. So, if I had like if I had like an MFA minor on my degree, it would basically be filmmaking. I don't have that, but I'm gonna make that for myself. And then the next goal for Q3 is obviously to survive graduate school, because like I told you guys before, I have a packed semester. I'm taking Russian, which is exciting. I'm doing I'm doing combat for the stage, where I'll get certified as an actor combatant, which is crazy. I told you guys about that, and a whole bunch of other amazing courses. So this semester is going to be hopefully really fun, but also really busy, and I just need to like survive. Q4 goals really quickly. Again, stay on top of my writing habit and upgrade it, and make sure I'm writing as quickly and as like viscerally as possible, so I can like get my word count knocked out. Basically, my goal is to get my 2,000 words knocked out before 10 a.m. every single day, because then I have the rest of the day to do other things. For Q4, I want to publish Rose and John Doe's, publish the Hitmen of Happily Ever After prequel novella. I want to finish storyboarding and concept design for Sandman. I want to create a viable business plan and a marketing plan for Sandman, and reevaluate the budget. I'm going to continue to grow New Adult Noir. I'm going to keep working on my weekly creative podcast, which I just talked about a few seconds ago. And I'm also definitely going to officially incorporate my subsidiaries for Rebel Ragdoll LLC. So I'll have my umbrella corporation, which is called Rebel Ragdoll LLC. And then I'll have Rebel Ragdoll Press LLC, Rebel Ragdoll Productions LLC, The Bohemian Badass LLC. And that's basically it. I would incorporate Chick Rogue Studios, but I'm not going to do that until right before I leave Tucson, basically right before I graduate, because we're not really doing much of Chick Rogue right now. So that's still sort of a developmental thing. And then continue to learn as much about filmmaking as humanly possible, and of course survive graduate school and teaching. So those are my goals for Q3 and Q4. It's a lot of goals, but it's actually a lot more streamlined and a lot simpler than my goals from the beginning of the year, which I'm still fully committed to. But again, as you sort of go throughout the year and you're in reality and you're living out day-to-day life in a realistic way, like grinding and hustling, but realizing how long certain things take, you should adjust your goals. Just to make life more manageable. And don't under-promise yourself and over-deliver. It's always great to over-promise these things to yourself and try to deliver as best as you can. Like, the cliched phrase, aim for the stars, and you're like, maybe you'll land on a cloud or whatever. Happens to me all the time. So that's what's happening fiscally and creatively for my creativity, and also my Rebel Ragdoll business, Fempire in Progress. Personally, this past year has been very, very interesting. And, I am not at the point where I'm going to be telling my life story on this vlog and podcast yet, but I will tell you guys that this time last year was a very challenging time for me, because as you guys know, like I have a child, and I spent a lot of time in these past 2.5 years, actually 3.5 years, because ever since I was pregnant, everything pretty much changed. I spent a lot of time focusing most of my energy on my child and making sure I learned as much as I could about motherhood, about just like babies. I know that sounds kind of like stupid, but babies are such enigmatic creatures. I mean, to a certain extent, some of it is instinctual, and then to a certain extent, none of it is instinctual, and you're just kind of learning as you go in a lot of ways. But I tried my best to not cripple myself, and I did like a lot of research. I talked to like a lot of other mothers and people who just knew more about raising children, because like even people who have planned to have kids ever since they were like 15, like, and they've known for decades that they've wanted children, we all to a certain extent struggle with the new challenges of motherhood. And so that was my main focus, really, up until I would say the middle of last year. And it's still one of my primary foci, but at the same time, because now, I'm not 100% responsible for like her all day care now that she's like going to school. Things have changed significantly just for not just myself and like my personal my personal growth, and just being able to like refocus on the basic things that I need, but also just being able to bring my entire life, including my career, back into focus. And so it's just this time last year, I was dealing with like the new, and so was she, the newness of putting her in other people's care. It was very terrifying for me. It was scary for her, but we've been very fortunate in finding some wonderful people here in town, some wonderful centers here in town. And so that was always a great thing. Well, it wasn't, but it's become a fantastic thing. And this past year has mostly been me reestablishing my independence as a person, financially, personally, emotionally, and also readjusting back to my original frame of mind, which has always been focused on my career and my creativity and my advancement. Now, it's not completely about me and my career, because obviously I'm a mommy now, so obviously like I have those dual identities amongst many others to deal with and to reconcile. But I wasn't really able to have a clear vision for my career while I was a stay-at-home mom. And that's just a fact, like, because again, having a child changes that trajectory for you. For at least it changed it for me so much that I had to reconsider a lot of things. I knew that I still wanted to basically be a media vampire mogul who was socially conscious and socially helpful to her community, not just the community of people of color, but specifically to women of color and Black women. I knew I still wanted to be that, but I had to completely reconfigure what that process and what that path would look like. And that was a very terrifying process. And a lot of times I didn't think I would be able to pursue my dream, but actually looking back on these few years that I've been a mom and still have also been focused on my career and developing myself, I have been moving towards my dream. It's just been incremental. It wasn't like it was in 2013, for example, where like I literally produced 7 film projects, published 2 novels, traveled, like backpacked across Eastern Europe, got my master's in sociology. I just like achieved so much in that year, and I was just on it. I was like on fire. I was like, oh, this is how I want my life to be. And then right at the beginning of 2014, bam, things changed. And so I was disappointed in the sense that I knew that I could not hustle the way that I used to hustle, 16 to 18 hours a day, just like, vibing and doing all these things. And in addition to putting out all the product that I put out, I also was like the head of like 2 or 3 like organizations on campus, in terms of like they were creatively leaning organizations and Hollywood leaning organizations. And I was a co-director of one of those organizations, and I was one of the board members of another organization. And then I created like my own like class for like TV writing and professionalization in Hollywood. It was just crazy. Like, it was just insane. I was just insane. And then on top of it, I was still finishing my last semester of graduate school, which was just like insane. So after having like literally a bombshell, incredible year in 2013, I was like punched in the face in 2014, and things changed. So now looking at all those changes I went through for 2014, 2015, which was a really difficult year for me, but also still very educational. Then 2016, which was also really challenging, but then presented me the opportunity to join this graduate program and get back on my feet, and get like the wind back in my sails in a more powerful way. Looking at all those things, I realized that I've come such a long way, not just in the past year personally, but in the past literally like 3 years. I mean, just looking at where I was mid 2014 to mid 2015 to mid 2016 to mid 2017, I'm just happy that I survived. I mean, I got some really awesome stuff done. I learned a lot, but I'm just happy I survived. So for this year, for mid 2017 and mid 2018, which again is the birth of my personal year, I've made a list of 35 personal things that I want to accomplish. And, they have to do with just like my support system here, my family goals, my health goals, my, what else? I have to I'm going to just look at this really quickly. Maybe I'll read you guys a couple. Let's see, personal goals, health goals. Are most of these health goals? I feel like that's the major thing that moms lose track of when we have kids, is that we forget that we're people and women, and so a lot of things fall to the wayside, including just the way that we treat our bodies, and you just don't eat well, you don't sleep well, you don't exercise as much as you used to, and it's just a hot ass mess. So healthier diet, goals to run a 5K, to be getting at least 8 to 10 hours of sleep per day. I've been doing actually pretty okay with that recently, but we'll see how that goes, and when graduate school starts back up. To have shot and finished the production of my first feature film. So that's Sandman, so stay tuned for that. To have my next film concept ready for development. Oh, I'm so excited about that. I'm trying not to leap into that because I want to focus on Sandman, but I've decided that before I graduate this program, I want to have shot 3 full films, at least shot. If I haven't released the 3rd film, or I'm in the process of releasing the 2nd film and shooting the 3rd film by the time I graduate, that's okay. But I want to have shot and finished at least 3 full films. And the 2nd film I want to work on is not Sandman 2, but it's going to be an action martial arts film. And I am so excited. And I mean a film in the vein of The Raid, which is literally my role model. That's the film, as you guys, if you've been following this vlog at all, that's the film that basically gave me the courage and the impetus to become a filmmaker and to own my identity as a director. I'll tell you that story in a whole different vlog, but we'll continue on. Anyway, I'm excited about that. Let's see. To have 8 more novels published. So in the next personal year, I want to have at least 8 more novels published. If I see my projects through to the end of this year, I would have published 3 novels by the end of this year, which is great. I'm excited about that. So we'll see what happens by next year. Let's see. To engage more fully and more regularly with my spirituality and with my study of different religious beliefs and backgrounds. I haven't really taken as much time as I've wanted to in the past few years to really reflect on how I feel about spirituality. I know that I'm a spiritual person, but I want to reflect more on sort of where my beliefs are grounded. And I feel like I already know that, but it's always good to sort of double down on that, research that, interrogate that, contextualize that. It's your beliefs should always, in my opinion, should always be a work in progress and always be in conversation with your day-to-day life. And I just want to actually become more actively engaged in that conversation. Anyway, let's see. So I also put down some rules for myself in terms of participating in graduate school. Because again, in academia, and this is not me being critical, actually, this is just me being truthful and candid. I think that graduate school is a great place to be. I think that this program is an amazing program. But I think it's important as individuals and as students to come into a graduate program with a goal, if not several goals and with a sense of identity and self. Now, this is not to say you have to be completely fully formed when you come into graduate school and that you should be unteachable. You should be open to new perspectives and exploring new things. But what I find is that sometimes professors, and it's not really their fault, they are so in love with and so committed to the things that they studied in graduate school and the things that they specialized in graduate school, that all they want to do is bring you into their world and share that world with you, even if you have really no interest in going down that path. As for me, for example, I have no interest in being a scholar whatsoever. I've already been there, done that. I have decided that that's not for me, and I want to develop myself as fully as a working professional artist as possible, which means doing plays, producing plays, directing plays, dramaturging plays, and being in the studio as much as possible. My coursework for me should be a combination of reading plays, reading works, doing mini projects that will turn into bigger projects or that are pilot projects for bigger projects, and just being in the studio as much as possible. That's just what I want to do. And so for me, the rules that I've laid down here about graduate school is that there are going to be sometimes and instances where I can't do everything that I want to do, obviously, but that doesn't mean that I have to like sell out my goals and my dreams to like basically please the professors or make them happy or make them feel validated. And don't please do not take this as a critique of my program, but I am saying, because I've been in graduate school twice now, so I know what I'm talking about. Some professors, again, are so in love with what they want to do and in love with their path, and that's the path that they know so well, and all they want to do is see you succeed. And to basically help you succeed, they're going to put you on the path that they walked. And for me, that's wonderful, but at the same time, I want to be on the path that professional working artists have walked, not on the path that scholars have walked into the academy. And so keeping that goal in front of me and that frame of mind sometimes is a challenge when you're sort of bombarded with scholarly material and scholarly mindset all the time. But I will keep that goal in mind and I will stick to that goal. And just as a side word of wisdom for you guys who are interested in going to graduate school, I'm not saying you should go into grad school being a brat, but I am saying that graduate school is there to serve you and your goals. You're not there to serve graduate school. If honestly you're coming into graduate school just wanting to be told what to do, you shouldn't really be in graduate school. You should actually just go and get another undergraduate degree. That's just my opinion, because basically undergrad is where you get to sit in the big lecture halls, you get assignments, you regurgitate what the professor is teaching you, and you regurgitate on your exams and in your papers, for the most part, what your professor is teaching you with a dash of critical thinking, pretty much. Graduate school is really where you come in and you say, my goal is to be A, B, and C. These are the classes that I'm taking to facilitate and bolster that goal, and this is how I'm creating an identity and a career for myself. And the mentors and the professors in the program are there to facilitate that. They're not there for you to become mini versions of them. That's just that. This is not like, follow the leader. This is more so collaborate with the leader and the expert in the field so that you can become a leader and an expert in the field that you want to be in. So maintaining those boundaries in graduate school is difficult, but I've actually been pretty good at doing it. So I'm going to continue to do that. Let's see. Is there anything else that I want to share? There's a lot of goals here. Some of them are really personal, so I'm not going to spill out all of them. But let's see. Oh, major goal here. To keep uncertainty out of my circle, no matter whose body it inhabits. So the thing that I've noticed with creators and artists, particularly with creators of color and especially with female creators, is that we constantly continue to question ourselves, criticize ourselves, denigrate ourselves. We decenter ourselves because we've been taught that our perspectives are not really valued or important. And I'm not saying that people sometimes do sit you down and tell you that as a woman or as a black person or as a person of color or as a disabled person, as an LGBTQIA plus person, that your voice doesn't matter. People actually do that. So let's not sweep that under the rug. But most of the messages that we get of invalidation in society tend to be very covert and more so in body language. So, for example, when I'm in a group of men, whichever group I'm in, where I'm the minority in any way, whether that's a racial minority or gender minority, sex minority, whatever, and I'm trying to speak and people are cutting me off, or they're not listening, or they're ignoring me, or none of my ideas are sticking, that's sending a subliminal, actually not so subliminal message that what I'm saying doesn't mean shit to anybody in the circle. And when you get that message enough in your lifetime, again, this is without anybody having to necessarily tell you directly that you're not shit. They don't have to say that directly. They're saying it by ignoring you. When you get that message constantly as a woman, as a person of color, as a minority in any way, you tend to start to drink the Kool-Aid and believe that you're not shit, and believe that your ideas are not shit, and that they're not worth anything, and that ultimately you're not worth anything. And I've worked really, really, really hard to overcome that mindset. I mean, it's really just been a year that I've been able to step up and say, I am an aspiring director of horror, sci-fi, and action films. And the only reason why the word aspiring is even in front of the director title is because I haven't made my film yet. I don't even really like that word, aspiring director. Like, if you want to be a director, just say you're a director and direct. And so anyway, that's my whole little thing. But it's taken a lot to get to that point. And so a part of staying at that point, of being like a bad bitch, basically, and asserting that I will be directing my horror film this year, I will be directing a martial arts action film this year in the vein of The Raid, but like my own brand, and that after that I will be directing a sci-fi film. Like, asserting that in real life takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of fortitude. And I'm not going to allow uncertainty and like colonized mindsets and oppressive mindsets to come into my energy. I can't. And that's really hard to say as someone who really wants to reach out and uplift other women and other people of color, other marginalized communities, because you're constantly going to be dealing with those colonized, denigrated mindsets, because everybody's sort of still working through their own stuff. But in terms of who I hire and who I collaborate with on my projects, I don't want to have to babysit that particular group of people. The people that I'll be working with, sort of in the communal sense, once they have gotten to the point where they are feeling genuinely assertive about themselves as writers, directors, creators, that's when they will be invited onto my projects. But as for my particular projects, I have to sort of keep a positive mindset. I don't want sort of the self-loathing, the self-shaming, the self-hating mindset on my crew. Because when you're literally on a set and you're spending time and money to get shots, to get coverage, to direct these actors, to get performances out of your actors, when your cinematographer has a certain amount of time to set up however many setups, you do not have time to babysit your crew members' sort of inner insecurities about themselves. And I know that sounds really harsh, but again, like, this is not to say that I won't be collaborating with people who are still working on themselves. It'll just be in a very different context, in a very different way. When it comes time to shoot my films, it's time to get down to business. It's time to show up, to believe in yourself, to, put your best foot forward, and to be open to learning new things. And that's it. That's the thing that I like, is that I don't need people around me to know everything or even know anything, but I do need them to believe in themselves in order for me to collaborate with them. I can't direct a great film but then also be convincing, like an AD or my cinematographer or my producer or my production designer, that they are good enough to be in this role. Like, I can't do that while I'm on set. So that's a major goal, and that's going to be a really hard one to enforce because it's just hard because we're all working on ourselves. I also want to keep a running gratitude journal and jar, which I'm already doing, but I just sort of want to make sure that I stay on top of that because life is hard, but it can also be very beautiful, and just there's a lot to be grateful for and thankful for. Like, I can think of like at least 20 things that I'm grateful and thankful for right now. And I think that's really about it. Let's see. Enrolling in a martial arts class, that's a big one. And a few others that I think I already talked to you guys about, which it's funny that my personal goals actually, like, at least I would say 25% of them are like also creative goals that I just mentioned, so I won't go through it again. But that's pretty much it. Sorry this was such a long update, but I did promise you that this is going to be a roundup of Q1 and Q2 for my business, as well as a yearly roundup for my personal update. And I would also be giving goals for my business and for my personal life. So, you know, you guys know me. If you've been following this for a while, you guys know that I'm pretty ambitious, or I try to be. And so that this is going to be kind of long, but I'm going to sign off. Thank you for sticking with me. Again, I will put all the links below if you're an author and you're watching this or listening to this. If you know you're catching this on the podcast, make sure you look in the vlog notes or the plot or the podcast. That's actually really funny. Look in the vlog notes or the podcast notes so that you can submit your dark and gritty sci-fi fantasy horror novel to New Adult Noir, so that I can basically advertise your novel for free to like my 13,000 readers, which why wouldn't you want to do that? And if you also have a series that you want advertised to my readership at New Adult Noir, also submit your series. I'll put the links to both of those sign up forms below, and you just fill it out and I'll let you know when you're going to be featured. Okay, so that was the roundup. Those are my goals. Wish me luck, and I will be back next week with an update as to what I'm doing. And I'm exhausted, and I'm going to take a nap. Listen to some great podcasts, and I will see you guys next week. All right? Thanks for sticking with me for so long. You guys are amazing. Bye.